Well, now I want to go to the first segment of our regular show called O-Scale Modeling. And to fill in for Dave Schultz tonight, the host is going to be Bill Davis. But before I introduce Bill, I want to run the video for the sponsor, which is the organization O-Scale Central.
I'm David Vaughn of O-Scale Central. O-Scale 2-Rail, models built to 1:48 scale and running on 2-rail track, is the best kept secret in model railroading. We're pleased to team with Jim Kello to introduce O-Scale 2-Rail to New Tracks viewers. O-Scale 2-Rail is for modelers. At twice the scale and 8 times the mass of HO, O-Scale's heft and ease of modeling create an outstanding model railroading experience. O-Scale 2-Rail modeling is as varied as railroading itself. Modern era, transition or old time, standard gauge or narrow. A wide variety of models is available at affordable prices. There is a supportive community and lots of shows, clubs, and events. You can explore O-Scale 2-Rail by going to our website, oscalecentral.com. You will find information about the scale and how to get started, as well as a free, searchable, scale-wide product and service guide and listings of coming O-Scale events. You will also find information about how to join O-Scale Central. We promote O-Scale 2-Rail and support modelers in the scale. When your eyes are going bifocular, when you need fresh challenges, keep O-Scale 2-Rail in mind. Check us out, oscalecentral.com. Thanks.
Well, now I want to introduce the host for this evening, Bill Davis. Bill, thanks so much for filling in tonight. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks, Jim. As Jim said, my name is William Davis. I've been interested in railroads ever since my mom gave me an American Flyer train set at age 3. I did S and HO as a kid. However, I didn't seriously consider O-Scale until the late 60s. Yes, I saw a lot of it as a kid growing up in Cleveland. LMB was there. Cleveland was a hot spot for the hobby. However, it wasn't until I was in the Air Force stationed at Travis Air Force Base that I would go to the East Bay Model Railroad Club in Oakland. There I saw O-Scale's potential. But the real clincher for me was going to the fine scale meeting at the hobby shop on School Street, also in Oakland. There I met the pioneers of the hobby, Bob Brown, Gordon Cannon, Lee Claus, Cliff Grant. Those guys were just, showing these models that were just like fabulous, And anyway, so I left that meeting going, this is what I want to do. I want to be able to do that kind of modeling on that kind of level and that kind of scale. Today, today this is called Proto 48, and that's what I actually model that in both narrow and standard gauge. Leaving there in 72, I knew that's what the scale I wanted to do and build. After I got married in 1972, I again got active back in the hobby. Before that, after the service, I was, how should we put this? Going to college. And actually what I was doing is partying as hard as I possibly could on the GI Bill. Anyway, so the first thing I built when I got back into the hobby was a Camino scale models DNRGW high side gondola in ON3. I was all excited about building this model. I took it out and showed it to my wife of less than a year, and she looked at it and went, "Why is there a steering wheel on the end?" And I was like, well, I got somebody who knows nothing about trains. But anyway, I got into custom building in the 70s and still do some of that today. However, it was in the 90s that Bill Schomburg came to the Terrapin Narrow Gauge Society meet and saw my Nash quad model built in Villeroy kit. He asked me to review it for RMC. That was the start of my serious writing, reviewing, and articles. That is the main thing I'd like to talk about tonight. We have all learned about the hobby through books and magazines. In O-Scale over the years, there have been some great magazines. Sadly, many of them are gone. O-Scale Railroading, O-Scale News, O-Gauger, Mainline Model are a few that have gone. But the Gazette, RMC, O-Scale Trains, and the online magazine O-Scale Resources, to name a few, are still here. All these magazines have great O-Scale articles. However, there's one thing that upsets me. What is that, you ask? It is how guys will say that I don't read the magazines because there's nothing in it about what I like. Well, the magazine is only as good as the material it receives. Because of that, you have this. Because of that, I have seen where magazines have been begging for material. So let's get back to you. If the magazine doesn't have material that you like, then send them an article. I know what you're going to say. I can't write. I'm no photographer. Well, let me share the story. When I was a kid, I was the student that never passed English. They just passed me along. And if you were to tell one of my English teachers that I write articles, even have a column in a magazine, they would laugh you to tears. Never him, but here I am. Jim Kello, our leader here, told me that he told his wife that he was going to write articles, an article 30, told his wife he's going to write an article. She laughed. That was 35 years ago. He's still writing. You don't have to be a professional. Most magazines offer guidelines and will work with you and edit material so that it is publishable. Your Computer Works Word program offers helps with spelling and grammar. If Jim and I can do it, you can do it. Also, added bonus, magazine will pay you for the article. And then one other thing too, my wife, before we had the computer stuff and I was writing by hand, she was my editor and she would go through and correct all my terrible English. One more thing, model manufacturers love to see their products in print, just like their free advertising. Some will even send a kit if they know us to get in an article or review it in a magazine. If you build one you really like, write an article about it. I mean, even if you modify it, change it around, whatever you do to it, send an article. Magazines will love to publish that. At one time, O scale was the scale that now was the scale, but now it's third to HO and N scale. However, in my eyes and yours, if you were in O scale, know that it is the outstanding scale. Many in smaller scales have discovered that moving up to O scale, the more we can get in print, the more we get in print, the people will see how awesome our scale is and want to model an O scale. Any questions or comments?
Well, Bill has been writing articles for a long time now. He used to write them for O-scale trains until they stopped
Kick me out.
And now he's writing for O-scale Resource. So congratulations. I'm glad you made that transfer and welcome.
Yeah, and it's like I said, you don't have to be professional. You don't have to be the photographer of the century. All that stuff would work with magazines, would work with you on this stuff. I started writing quite by accident, actually. Like I said, Bill Schomburg says, write me a review. Next thing you know, he's sending me skits. And I'm reviewing stuff.
Bill,
Go ahead.
Do you, is it strictly O standard gauge, or would you pick up an ON30 article?
Oh, I'm sure that that's a good question. I'm sure that O scale Resources will. I know the Gazette will.
Oh,
as far as that goes.
Oh, absolutely. Dan will. Hell,
yeah, Dan will.
If you read my articles in O-scale Resource, I write about N-scale, because I write about modelers.
Right.
Not necessarily scale. So, anything. But particularly ON30 is part of O-scale.
Yeah,
at least as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. ON30 has also, I'm kind of a purist, so I model ON3, but then I've been doing it since the 70s, so it's kind of hard for me to get out of it. But ON30 has really opened up the O-scale modeling to a lot of people. A lot of guys that were just building HO stuff, and all of a sudden, Bachmann came along with all these wonderful kits and models and stuff like this, ready to run models and stuff. That guys started going, hey, I can do this. This is bigger. I can see it better because I'm getting old.
Yep.
And O-scale is fun. You can detail a little bit of daylights out of it and stuff like this, and that's something that's hard to do in HO or N scale or any of that. I was at a guy's house back in the 60s, and he had a 2-wall layout, and it was O scale and ON3. And I was talking to him and stuff like this, and he showed me a high side gondola kit that he was building. And he said, well, this costs like, $35 for, he said, this costs like $35. And I thought, gee, that's a lot of money. I could buy an HO boxcar for, $3 at that time or whatever it was and stuff. But it'd take 15 minutes to assemble it. He said, I'll spend a month building this model, and I'll put every detail conceivable on this model. And that plus the visit to the school street thing went, that's what I want to do. I want to build models. You know, as a kid, I built models. I did cars and boats and airplanes, everything else like this, and trains and stuff. So, you know, it's easy to take that, what you do, your knowledge you have, and put it into articles. You know, I have a friend of mine who reads O-scale resources, reads S-scale resources, reads all these different magazines. He says, I always find some kind of technique or some kind of something in the magazine that is worth looking at and reading.
Bill, thank you so much for being here this evening. I really do appreciate you filling in, and hope you'll join us again.
Oh, I will. I will.
Okay, thank you.
All right, sure. Bye.